I want to get into more mysterious stories, fucking scary stories, true crime, all that fun jazz on this stream. I want to do some reacts, okay? Obviously I won't be pausing this every fucking 5 seconds like I do drama and fucking advice and documentaries about Dark Viper AU type shit, but I will probably pause and talk a decent amount. So to any YouTube frogs, thank you, W transition, what can I say? Hey, YouTube frogs watching this. If you guys want to watch this video without my commentary, without my reaction, feel free to click the first link in the description. If you do stick around, you think I'm a little goofy guy or whatever, I fucking made some cool faces during this, feel free to drop a like and a sub. That'd be sick. And if you want to come watch these videos live with us, second link in the description. How does Chris get away with genocide, hate crimes, terrorism? What? I did what? Oh man, that's definitely getting my video fucking demonetized because I said all those words in the beginning of this video. I'm cooked. Anyways, let's watch the video.
1944, an American...
Oh, let me rewind. Sorry, a little bit of it played. My bad. Shout out MrBallen.
One night...
It's okay, Urban Legend. This video is not going to go stupid, and I don't even have the other channel monetized. You are fine. You're fine. It's something I should have been more aware of. I love you.
1944, an American military pilot was flying over England when he turned around in his cockpit and looked at this panel of switches that was right behind him. And after looking for a particular switch, he reached out and he was about to toggle it, but he stopped because he knew what he was about to do, flipping this switch, would easily be the most dangerous thing he had ever done in his entire life. But this was his duty. He had to do it. And so after taking a deep breath, he flipped the switch, and immediately chaos ensued, and the course of American history would be drastically changed forever. If you've never heard the story before, and many people have not, this is not nearly as well known as it should be, then you are in for a huge reveal at the end. But before we get into that story,
hello, MrBallen.
If you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do.
I just want to say that if investing in content creators was a fucking actual thing that you could do, like these fucking losers that invest in real life stocks, which by the way, I probably at some point in my life will indulge in at least a little bit. Okay, dude, I'm a little brokey. Okay, I'm trying to get some bands. Anyways, if investing in fucking content creators was, I could invest in them like I invest in like stocks or businesses or some shit like that, right? I would be like a fucking billionaire by now, bro. I literally found MrBallen on fucking TikTok, like right at the fucking beginning of his career, dude. If I could have invested in this guy, like a fucking business, I'd be fucking rich, bro. Him, who the fuck else? Morgs, bro. I found Morgs when he was at 5,000 subscribers. I almost hit him up to collab. Kavos, even though Kavos has some fucking questionable opinions. Who else? Who else? Fucking Trutriz, even though he's inactive now. Found him at 5,000 subs. Okay, dude. I found Leafy, dude, when Leafy was small. Okay, dude? If I could invest in these fuckers, like, again, like businesses, I'd be rich. Anyway, sorry, not to fucking toot my horn.
And we upload once a week. So, if that's of interest to you, please secretly log in to the Like Button's computer and then transfer all of their Bitcoin to your untraceable offshore account. Also, please subscribe to...
Holy shit, they're gonna pull a FaZe Clan. Nah, we're gonna pull a FaZe Clan on the Like Button, bro? What?
our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's story.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sorrow. Is he one of your family members? Yo, y'all have watched this shit? Some of y'all have watched this shit? All right, well, you guys get to see my reaction, my face.
At around 5:30 p.m. on the evening of August 12th, 1944, a young American military pilot named Joe walked out of his quarters on his base in England
Joe!
the station.
Like Rogan?
As soon as he was outside, he lit a cigarette to calm his nerves, and as he smoked the cigarette, he began walking towards the huge hangar on the other side of the base, where his plane was waiting for him. Joe had been preparing for this night for weeks. He and his co-pilot, a 35-year-old lieutenant who was nicknamed Bud, were about to step off on a top-secret military mission called Operation Aphrodite. And this mission was not only top secret, but it was so unbelievably dangerous that basically anybody who knew about it considered it a suicide mission. But Joe tried not to think about that as he walked towards the hangar. Instead, he tried to think about the reason he was here in the first place, the reason he had joined the military, and that was to defeat the Nazis. And what he and his co-pilot were
W-mans. Dude does not fuck with fascism. I can get behind that.
about to do, Operation Aphrodite, was going to play a huge role in defeating the Nazis. So this was about 5 years into World War II, and
you know the G word that I'm not going to say again because I don't want to get fucking extra demonetized. They're going to fucking strike my channel and be like, yo, what the fuck, bro? Do.
at this point, the Nazis were actually losing. However, it was making them more dangerous, not less, because they were becoming very, very desperate. And so they were launching all these outrageous attacks, basically because they had nothing to lose. And one horrible thing the Nazis were doing at this time were dropping these things called vengeance weapons. Hitler called them vengeance weapons. They were basically these huge bombs that the Nazis would drop arbitrarily across the United Kingdom on major...
No, not Germany. The G word, Germany. Nah, bro. The only thing that fucking Germany fucking does, if I say it in a fucking YouTube video, it reminds me of somebody that used to talk about a fucking coffee maker nonstop. Stop. Literally nobody here gets that fucking joke, by the way. Maybe one of the OG fucking Christian TG92 fucking viewers will fucking watch this video and be like, ha! Anyway, sorry.
Your population centers, and by this point in the war, these vengeance weapons had killed over 5,000 civilians. And at this exact moment, like this night,
Urban, I love you, by the way.
Towards the hangar, the Nazis had a stash of vengeance weapons aimed directly at London. That was going to be their next target. And so the mission that Joe and his co-pilot Bud were going on, Operation Aphrodite, was going to be to go out and destroy those vengeance weapons to save London.
Oh, I would also like to say, dude, this is pretty cool because my granddad on my dad's side was a pilot in World War II. Or no, he wasn't a pilot. He was like the person that basically like told the pilot where to go and shit like that. And he literally like almost died at one point. And I think it was they got their asses saved by a UK plane that like came in and like saved them from going down. Because they were about to, and they thought at one point that it was like a German plane, but then like they got a signal. My dad would be able to tell the story better. Maybe at some point, if I ever fucking do a video or something with my dad, he could tell the story. And then also my great granddad on my mom's side was in the war. I think he was also on planes. I'm pretty sure, but I don't know if he was a pilot. Conductor, right? Would have been on my dad's side. I think that's what he was called. Sorry, I'm not like ultra educated on this. I just know the stories from my dad telling them all the time. Their science testing was actually crazy though. Super soldiers, actual power armor, and almost zombies. Lol. Yeah, dude. I still like the silly fucking story of Germany having a time machine. I like that kind of shit. Chris, have you ever seen the movie Unspoken? If not, I'd recommend it. It's crazy. Oh, Unbroken? I don't think so. Chris, one day I'm going to get a special Discord role I'm saving up, and you can't crush my dreams? Okay, bet. My grandfather was a turned American, so double agent spy stuff, and he was on the plane that dropped the nuke on Hiroshima. Oh my God, bro. That's crazy. Half of my ancestors were pirates, the other half were Native Americans. I decayed my mom's heritage, though. Oh, shit. Yeah, dude, I don't have any cool things in my heritage, I'm pretty sure. I mean, there was a Fort West somewhere that was, like, talked about a lot. I don't know if that's actually my family or not, but yeah. I have not sorrow.
And as nervous...
Sorry, any YouTube frogs watching this, and we're getting totally distracted by me talking to chat. I apologize.
As Joe was about this
it's going to happen again.
He was really nervous. He was also very excited. He actually had volunteered for this mission when many other pilots had done everything they could to stay away from this mission. And on top of that, Joe actually had flown enough missions by this point in the war that he didn't need to fly anymore. He could just go home. But instead, he volunteered for this mission. And a reason why Joe might have decided to do that has a lot to do with the family he was raised in. So Joe came from a family that was very successful and accomplished, and his father really pushed Joe and his younger brother to be the very best at whatever they were doing.
Joe Brandon!
And to be very competitive with each other. And so while Joe and his younger brother did love each other, they also had a pretty intense rivalry. And for a while, Joe's father obviously favored Joe. I mean, Joe was the favorite child, and, you know, his father would always say, Joe's going to be the president someday. He's so talented. But after the attack on Pearl Harbor that brought the United States into World War II, both Joe and his younger brother joined the military, and pretty early on in the war, Joe's younger brother got an award for heroism. He had basically saved his platoon of men, and he won all these awards, and he was all over the news. And pretty quickly after that, Joe felt like he fell out of favor with his dad, that his dad kind of looked at the younger brother as being the favorite child now. And so Joe
Yeah, this Joe does not support genocide. I like this Joe. There you go. There's the G word I wasn't going to say.
really started to feel insecure and wanted to prove himself really to his dad. And so when Operation Aphrodite came up, Joe volunteered for it really because he wanted to be a hero. He wanted to show his dad that he too could do something huge and change the course of history. And he would change the course of history, but not in the way he expected. And so Joe continued to smoke a cigarette and hustled across the base towards the hangar. And as he did,
Yeah, it's educational, YouTube. Okay, chill out.
he found himself kind of speeding up, like he just wanted to get over there and get started. Joe's commanders had given him a special code he would call out over the radio if this mission was successful. It was spade flush. That's what he'd say over the radio. And so as Joe hustled towards the hangar, he imagined how incredible it was going to be to yell out spade flush over the radio. I mean, it was only like 30 minutes away from that moment. This was a short mission. And so finally Joe reached the hangar and he looked up to the sky one more time to make sure the weather looked solid, because actually they had tried to launch Operation Aphrodite a couple of days earlier, but it had been canceled because of fog. But Joe looked around and the weather looked good, and so he knew it was going to be a go. So he flipped his cigarette butt and stepped into the hangar.
Sorry to pause again, but I just want to say, obviously, this is a stick up your butt. What? Anyway, sorry. MrBallen's ability to tell stories is fucking insane, bro. Insane, bro. It feels like you're actually there when he tells these stories. He's so good at it, bro. I would love to study his way of storytelling. Another person that, oh yeah, by the way, one of the GOATs, right? Weirdly, he's in sports world, so I can't really put him up with like Jev and Jacksepticeye and Nate Shot shit, but Pat McAfee. I think Pat McAfee does, for what he's doing, a really good job. Not in the same way that MrBallen does it, but in his own way of storytelling, just by his like inflection in his voice, in the way that he like tells the story, like fucking builds it up, raises it, and then like basically like gives it to you almost. Pause. It's really good. MrBallen is, and that like gets you excited or like makes you feel some kind of emotion about the story. MrBallen does very similar shit, but he also makes you feel like you're right there. And his style of content is perfect for that. You know, obviously Pat McAfee is a fucking like sports show, so he doesn't like really get to show it off. But I think if he ever wanted to jump into something like that, he probably could in some way. Is YouTube really censoring that word, especially with what's happening now? I don't think they are, but just to be safe. Yeah. I don't know, probably in the first like minute or two, because that's the major points that YouTube looks out for their ads. I imagine he did this in the military when they had nothing else to do. Yeah, maybe he like honed his craft there. I like to think I'm funny sometimes. I think you're funny, Sarah. I love Pat. My dad and I watch him when he's live, but he's also just unhinged at some points. Oh, Pat McAfee? Oh, yeah. Yeah. That's one of my favorite parts about him. He actually grew up not super far from where I grew up, like an hour away. It's pretty cool. I love that. I love his fucking story. Actually, if I move where I'm looking at, I will be probably like... Actually, he'll be on like the other side. So he'll, like where he grew up will probably be like 45 minutes away from me or something like that.
Inside this hangar was this massive, big open space. And in the center of the hangar on the floor was this huge plane called a B-24 Liberator. This was, of course, Joe's plane for the night. And so Joe immediately began walking towards the plane to check it out. Now, this particular type of plane was the type of plane Joe had been flying for the past 3 years. I mean, he'd flown many combat missions in this type of aircraft, so he was very familiar with it. But this particular B-24 was unlike any of the other B-24s Joe had ever flown. In fact, this aircraft was so unique, it was unlike any aircraft that any pilot in the American military had ever flown. I mean, this was really a one of one. And so as Joe walked around the outside of this plane, he began to notice some of these unique modifications that the mechanics had made to this aircraft. The most noticeable modification was actually the cockpit. Now, normally the cockpit had all these windows basically all around it, so the pilot could look in any direction and see what was going on, but obviously they needed to be protected from the elements. But this B-24 had all the glass removed except for one pane of glass, basically right in front of where Joe would be staring, just like a single windshield. And so it's almost like it was a convertible aircraft where it was all open air in the cockpit. And the reason for this...
Oh, dude, hell no. Hell no. I mean, obviously you're not afraid of heights if you're fucking a pilot, but bro, nah.
change is because Joe and his co-pilot, during the course of this top secret mission, Operation Aphrodite, they would have to jump out and parachute to the ground. And so by having this all open, it would allow them to do that much easier. And then another big modification to the B-24 is the guns that were normally located on the outside of the aircraft were gone, and they were replaced by broomsticks painted black to look like guns at a distance. But the visible changes to this particular B-24 were nothing compared to the massive changes that were hidden inside this aircraft.
The massive cock in Joe's pants. I'm sorry.
Because the top secret part of Operation Aphrodite was really this particular plane. The plane was not really a plane. It was more like a huge flying bomb. The military's mechanics basically hollowed out the entirety of this plane, removed everything inside of it that was not absolutely vital, and they replaced it with explosives. 10 tons of explosives. Like, this is an unbelievable amount of explosives. A few minutes later, at around 5:55 p.m., Joe and his co-pilot Bud, who by this point had come into the hangar, finished doing their exterior inspection of the aircraft, and then they climbed into the cockpit, with Joe taking a seat in the pilot's seat and Bud sitting in the co-pilot's seat. And even though the evening was cool, both men were visibly sweating. Once the pilots got the go-ahead to begin the mission, Joe fired the first engine and then turned to look at the ground crew all around them, and he noticed all of them looked really, really serious. I mean, they obviously knew how intensely dangerous this mission really was, and the fact was, you know, the pilots might not make it home, and so they're looking up at these guys like, I'm sorry you have to do this. But Joe, you know, he looked out at these people and he sensed that was going on, and so he made a big show to wave and smile at them, to show confidence, like he knew what he was going to do, he's going to be fine. But in reality, Joe really was terrified.
Chat, do your boobs ever hurt? Yeah, all the time. I gotta give them a little massage from time to time and go, it's okay, ladies.
In about 10 seconds, I'm going to hold something up in front of the camera that our team has been working on for over a year, and it's finally ready to be revealed, and we know you're going to love it. All right, drum roll please, here we go. And it's the Strange, Dark, and Mysterious delivered in book format. The official MrBallen graphic novel. Our first book ever. In this just stunningly beautiful
It's actually sick as fuck.
Are full stories that are brand new and have never been covered anywhere else on any of our other channels. So
these are the best ads, bro. When motherfuckers really like cook some shit up like this, bro. Like, this is so cool. I honestly might have to buy this book. That's so sick. That's so fucking sick.
If you want to hear those new stories, you got to get this book. The book is not coming out until my birthday, October 1st of this year. But you can pre-order a book right now by going to book.ballenstudios.com. The link is also in the description. And if enough of you pre-order this thing, it'll make the New York Times bestseller list, which is so cool. But more importantly, that will show us there's big interest in books from the Strange, Dark, and Mysterious community, and we'll make more of them. So again, head on over to book.ballenstudios.com.
Bro, is this... I wonder... Oh, yeah, I can hit you guys with the link. I wonder if it's like him as the person sitting around the fire telling the story, right? Oh, I hope that's... Oh, yeah, that's the YouTube redirect. That should be what you're looking for, I think. Let me click on this here. Let me make sure I get it for you guys. Actually, use that second link. I don't know why YouTube made that fucking long-ass link. I wonder if this will be him, like, it'll intro, kind of like the intro to, like, a fucking... like The Quarry or like Until Dawn, where it's like him in between stories like talking to you, or if he is the one in the stories, like depicted as the main character in the stories. Because I think either or would be cool as fuck. Like he's the one telling the story at the campfire and it cuts back to him and he's like talking and shit, but it's like other people. Or if it's him at the campfire pretending that these stories are him. Either way, that's so cool. Or if it's something totally else, I'm sure, or something totally different, I'm sure it's cool as fuck too.
And pre-order a copy today. Oh, and also at the end of today's video, be sure you stick around because I'm gonna go live on YouTube, and during this live event, I will tell you a little personal story from my time in Navy boot camp and how that actually led to the creation of this graphic novel. I'll also speak with some very special people that helped make this book a reality, and I'll share some other
Does it say how many pages there are?
exclusive details about the book. Oh, and also I will answer any questions you might have about the book. So when this episode ends, just click on the live tab on my YouTube channel to join the live event with me. And again, go to book.ballenstudios.com and pre-order a copy of the MrBallen graphic novel today.
Chat, how long do you think this motherfucker was live? An hour and a half? You think he was live for that long? Let's see how long he was live. An hour and 12 minutes. I mean, honestly, for MrBallen, considering what kind of content he normally does, pretty good time, bro. Pretty long time.
And help us get on that New York Times.
Chat, by the way, sorry to pause, but I feel like we've been way more positive with our reacts tonight. This made me happy, dude. I'm gonna try to do that more often. I'm trying to be like extra positive. 208 pages? Damn, bro, for 22.49. I don't know shit about books, but I feel like that's pretty fucking good.
Bestsellers list.
Especially since somebody actually had to like draw them all out and shit like that. I feel like that's pretty good. Anyways, back to the story. Sorry, so sidetracked on that shit.
By 5:59 p.m., Joe had all 4 propellers spinning on the aircraft, and so he released the
Man, Joe is so cooked. Him and Bud are so cooked.
brake and began taxiing out to the runway. And as they bumped along,
More violence.
Bud became really aware of just how heavy this aircraft was from all the explosives.
Dude's had fucking post-launch clarity. Post off the runway clarity. My bad.
I mean, every bump.
Wasn't funny.
This plane is lurching up and down and really creaking and making lots of noises. I mean, this was sketchy. Finally, Joe went full speed ahead. He and Joe went tearing down the runway, and at some point, the plane did get lift, and it took off into the air. And then just up ahead of him were 6 other planes that had just taken off moments before, who were going to escort Joe and Bud to their target area.
Nice.
Once Joe got the plane to its cruising altitude, he and Bud kind of relaxed for a second and began preparing themselves for what was going to happen next. They had about 15 minutes of just kind of casual flying before the real work of this mission began. The vengeance weapons that Joe and Bud were going out to destroy as part of Operation Aphrodite were located about 120 miles south, just outside of this little town in the very northern tip of France.
Oh, 15 minutes, 120 miles? I can get that in my Subaru, bro. What? You kidding me? That's as slow as the planes went back then? Oh, my bad. I didn't mean to mute our boy here.
But destroying these weapons would not be as simple as just Joe and Bud flying over top and releasing all their explosives and flying back home. Because the Nazis had buried these vengeance weapons deep inside the hills in this town in northern France. And so regular bombs wouldn't touch these vengeance weapons. They had to do it a different way.
See, in my head, I thought they was about to go on some Indiana Jones ass shit. Fucking bring that thing down like it's about to go in the tunnel and then hop out that bitch. Fucking roll on the ground a couple times, look over, you know, fucking see that bitch going right in the tunnel. Now, I understand that if it wasn't a fucking movie, if this was real life, if they actually did that, their body parts would be like on the fucking ground. It'd be like the fucking roadkill my mom ran over in the Subaru tonight that went, it literally went like cartoon sound style. Sorry, I spit on my mic a little bit. Aren't you guys jealous, chat? Anyways, it was like cartoon style squash. It was like it made that noise. I don't know how long the thing had been dead, but oh my God, dude. Anyways.
And the way they were going to do it was Joe and Bud were going to fly their plane directly into the hills.
Slow off plane? It just like me for real.
And the way they would do this is they would fly their plane as close to the target area as possible, at which point one of the other pilots that were in the escort planes would take remote control of the B-24 flying bomb. And then once they had remote control, Joe and Bud, who no longer needed to do anything, they would jump out and parachute to the ground. And then the pilot who was remotely flying this now vacant B-24 flying bomb, they would just set it on autopilot to crash into the hills. At around 6:15 p.m., just as the English Channel came into view, Joe toggled a switch on his control panel, and then after he did, he and Bud kind of held their breath for a second to see what would happen. And then a couple of seconds later, the plane kind of shuddered for a second and then leveled out. And then a call came over the radio from one of the pilots who were in the escort planes telling Joe and Bud that they had just successfully taken remote control of the B-24. So at this point, Joe and Bud are no longer flying the aircraft. They're just sitting inside of this flying bomb. Now, there were only two things left for Joe and Bud to do before they could bail out to safety. They would need to arm the plane, so basically arm the explosives and make them ready to detonate. And then after that was done, they would need to call out over the radio, "Spade flush," the code Joe was given, which would signal to everybody else that the plane was ready and Joe and Bud were jumping out. And so once Joe and Bud nodded to each other and kind of
I'm so nervous right now. I don't even know why.
acknowledged that, okay, we're going to do the last bit of this mission, Joe turned around in his seat and he looked at this control panel that was right behind him, and on this panel was the arming switch. And so once Joe flipped this, he and Bud would have a very short window of time to safely escape the aircraft. And so it was kind of like, flip it, make the radio call, and get the heck out of there. But Joe and Bud had trained for this moment over and over and over again, so they were ready. And so eventually, Joe flipped the switch, grabbed his radio, and called out, "Spade flush." What Joe and Bud could not have known when the mechanics were making all these modifications to this B-24 was that one of the mechanics accidentally crossed some wires in putting in all these explosives. And so just seconds after Joe had armed the explosives, they detonated. They were not supposed to, but they did. And so Joe and Bud were killed basically a fraction of a second after calling out "Spade flush." But it would turn out the catastrophic failure of Operation Aphrodite had no impact on World War II. In fact, Operation Aphrodite should never have happened in the first place. It was totally unnecessary. What Joe and Bud and the rest of the American military didn't know at the time was 5 weeks earlier, the British Royal Air Force dropped a whole bunch of ground-penetrating bombs all across those hills in northern France, and they destroyed all of the vengeance weapons. So when Joe and Bud took off on this doomed mission, there was no threat to London. None. But that is not the big reveal in this story. Because Operation Aphrodite changed the course of American history in a really specific and really enormous way. Because Joe, whose full name was Joseph P. Kennedy Jr., was a member of the very famous Kennedy family, a big-time political family in America, and at the time...
No! So let me get this straight. Also, what's up, Sonic? Welcome in. Let me get this straight. This fucker's dad made these two so competitive against each other that John F. Kennedy saved his platoon, which then made his brother go, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna go on a slip and slide mission. Oh yeah, this could go wrong in about a bajillion possible ways. Oh, it goes wrong. Literally, they did not have to go on that mission." And then the dad that was like, "Yeah, Joe's gonna be president one day." John becomes the president, and now we have what's his name, Kennedy, running for president, and his dumbass is like, "I don't see anything wrong with bombing Palestine." Are you kidding me? This is really the fucking This is crazy. This is fucking crazy to me.
The Kennedys were all saying Joseph is going to be the next president of the United States, and everybody believed it. He was going to be the guy. But then, of course, Operation Aphrodite changed all of that because Joseph was killed. And so the war would end about a year later, and when it did, Joseph's younger brother, John...
I actually don't think I do. I'm sorry. Wait, no, wait. Wait, I think I do now, because we were talking about fucking John Kennedy.
John F. Kennedy, who won that award for heroism and got a Purple Heart early on in the war, and he kind of became a war hero.
Dang, but, like, this is gonna sound disrespectful, but I mean it in a very respectful way. Was Joe slanging it like that too, like John? Do you think he was fucking? Do you think that's why John started to slang that thing like he did because he watched Joe? Do we think that's like I'm not even like it like kind of started like as serious but also a joke, but like also I'm kind of very serious now that I think about it. Since they were so competitive, do we think that Joe was like the original Barney from How I Met Your Mother? Anyways, rest in peace, Joe, bro. That is genuinely sad, by the way. I just want to say, after that whole reaction, this is genuinely so sad for Joe and Bud.
Which prompted Joe to volunteer for Operation Aphrodite. Yeah, John would begin his...
By the way, I would just like to say that the fucking JFK fucker that I did the impression of, or fucking Kennedy fucker that is running for president, right? As a third party, whatever, that I did the impression of, I fucking killed that impression, okay? I just want to say. Let me go back a little bit because I've been way too distracted. Okay, sorry. Sorry, YouTube frogs. Sorry, chat. Let's continue.
Aphrodite changed all of that because Joseph was killed. And so the war would end about a year later, and when it did, Joseph's younger brother, John F. Kennedy, who won that award for heroism and got a Purple Heart early on in the war, and he kind of became a war hero, which prompted Joe to volunteer for Operation Aphrodite. Yeah, John would begin his unbelievable political rise.
And I would just like to say, this is why you don't fucking compare your kids and try and make them better than each other or whatever, because dumb shit like this fucking happens. Just let your kids do whatever the fuck they want to do, bro. Imagine getting cooked because your brother got a cool trophy and then he becomes president because you died. Joe definitely had a way higher charisma than John did, and he acted like that because he wanted to keep his brother with him. Pretty sure he talked about it right before he got gangbanged or bang-banged. I was like, god damn. Not gang, Chris. Sorry, I saw bang and then gang. I saw ang and banged, and it just activated in me. I'm so sorry.
And by 1960, John F. Kennedy, JFK, would become the 35th president of the United States, even though he wasn't supposed to. He was the second choice. It should have been Joe. As I mentioned earlier, I am now going to go live on YouTube to discuss further our big announcement, our graphic novel. All you have to do to join this live event is click on the Live tab on my YouTube channel. During this event, I will cover a personal story from my time in the Navy. I'll also chat with a few special guests that help make this book a reality. I'll share some more exclusive details about this book, and I'll answer...
Hey, I don't want to get gangbanged without properly prepping my butthole, okay? So let's fucking... Okay?
Any questions you might have about this book. Okay, that's it. So head on over now to the live section of my YouTube channel, and we'll talk about the upcoming MrBallen graphic novel.
Love MrBallen, bro. We gotta... Yo, chat. Was this a W? Was this a W watch? Do we need to do more of this? Closing thoughts. I'm literally fucking dumbfounded. I'm literally so fucking dumbfounded right here. If social studies was taught by MrBallen in story form, no one would fail. That's real. Being 67 years old, I knew right away you were talking about Joe and John Kennedy. I learned Joe died in grade school history, but I was taught he was shot down. I never learned the real story. Thank you for schooling an old woman in World War II history. That's so real. I have a minor in history. What? Sorry, I'm so fucking stupid. I have a minor in history, and I love to hear him and all the stories. If we have more teachers like him, kids would love history and appreciate it. Yeah, dude, we need to... Yo, like this is, I know this is a crazy controversial opinion, but we need to pay our teachers more, you know? I think that would also help with things a lot, you know? RFK Jr. Yeah, sorry, I said JFK Jr. or whatever the fuck. Yeah, RFK Jr. Yeah. Wait. Yeah. I said JFK, motherfucker. I meant RFK, motherfucker. God damn it. It finally dawned on me why I like listening to these stories so much. You're this generation's Paul Harvey. Mistakes were... can I be honest? I don't fucking know who Paul Harvey is. That's my bad, dude. Mistakes were made is one of my favorite historical phrases of all time. Perfect for all occasions. I'm 60, taught U.S. history, and all of my uncles fought in World War II. I knew this was about the Kennedys as soon as you mentioned the rivalry and the father, but never knew the circumstances of Joe's death. Just assumes he was shot down. One of your best, MrBallen. Dude, I can already feel angry YouTube comments if this video does well, but like I don't really care, bro. I was just my quirky little self, you know what I'm saying? Had to make some little remarks at stupid politicians nowadays, okay? Fuck them all. Fuck them all, baby. 2024, fuck them all. Oh, Bloody Benders.